Maybe it's a sign of my personal growth that I'm not particularly jealous of Vince. No, that can't possibly be it.
In my mind, I call myself like a painter that raps. So I've never really cared enough, like, I'm a rapper, that I'm gonna get in that world.
Maybe what it is that I've never had any aspirations to be either a painter or a rapper. You know, except for a brief period after 8 Mile came out. Or maybe it's just that Vince is such a nice guy. I suppose if I'm being completely honest, the most likely explanation is that Link and Bowser feature so prominently in his art.
I associate with how you spend your time with how you worship. And I feel like I have like a worship for imagery. And I think because that was such a huge, like important image growing up, that image also stuck.
This is a calm man, and I don't mean emotionless or passionless. His music and his art provide empirical evidence that he is anything but. I mean calm like he gives off an aura of everything's okay. I mean calm like he doesn't sit around all day questioning his life choices. I mean calm like he can make art that isn't solely about him and his neuroses. This man, in other words, is doing a lot that I am not. You see, I'm convinced that I was meant to live an ordered life. I was meant to join a company straight out of college and then get a raise and then get promoted and then get a raise and then get promoted. I was meant to be the go-to guy for the boss. I was meant to file reports all day. I was meant for middle management. And so frankly, I don't know how to live this kind of life.
I think he refers to it as jazz life, the jazz life. Yeah, he raps about it. It's in all his paintings. It's just in the way he lives life.
I suppose I've stumbled into something approaching a jazz life because for some dumb reason I needed to be in a creative field. And as a result, I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow, let alone what I'll be doing next week, and that drives me crazy. I was meant from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It makes me simultaneously restless and paralyzed, which is a fancy way of saying I play video games all day. To me, this is chaos. But then there's Vince, who's able to just live his life without overthinking his decisions or obsessing over details or being so hard on himself. And if he made bad art, this would be so much easier because then I could just say that that's how bad artists function. And good artists are the ones who have the undying loop machine in their brains that forces them to endlessly tweak and modify and panic. But he's good. That's the thing. He's genuinely good at what he does, and he's escaped the stereotype of the tortured artist while he's at it. This is an artist who's talented and confident and comfortable in his own skin. What is the world coming to?
No nothing, no blunting, no frontin', wantin' machines to gon' get out the way. No text, no TVs, no highways and no lattes. Only jazz festivals and Andre Lamar. Far away as possible. Nature God body pop like a bull, like lip with Latina. Unstoppable, palpable myth. List of emotional breath. Joy mad fresh. Love, life, death, yes. Less I mess, stress off chest. Fist on my cabinet. Grip of stamina. Stab salmon. Mic slam, jam jelly. Jam Shuggy Otis. Flick a boogie lotus. Do the thing that Biggie showed us. Digging them coldest cats' poems. Dig my plow over the bones of the dead. Wow. Gosh darn, what y'all think this is? Yo, this my family. Hip-hop's my kid. Freestyle, my stepchild, Buck Wow. King Town, Bucky done son. Bucky done one. Sensical forte. Listening to Fortet with hard hair. San Martin. You don't know what you're doing. And that's my Stepfather Factory. Got my own seasonings. No Tony Saturated, satchel bag, half of me. Other half laceration from family baggage. Fight it off like Bilbo Baggins. Lego stacking. Jinko sagging, demon stabbing for logocentrism in Western culture. Neurosis hurt ya, neurons ferocious, defiant. Feel like a giant when I fight for funk, fight for dying, fight for breath, fight for love, fight for space, fight for kiss, fight for what the fuck you want, cause that's all you got. Depressants got you down, time to get on top of your entrails. Jaw trails, telltales of emotional connectedness, direct this ship.
I had to bypass the computer.
I don't know. I've known Vince for like 8 years now, and I still feel like I don't know the guy.
I have wanted to be a lot of things in my life. A video game developer, a composer, a film critic, and yes, a musician. But I firmly believe that it is a rite of passage for every person to accept his or her own mediocrity. I really do. This isn't a bad thing. Yes, I freely admit that my rendition of Working Class Hero is just flat out bad, but that doesn't stop me from playing it when my girlfriend is out of the apartment. All it is a matter of removing the ambition like you would cancerous cells, excising the poison so that the hobby can survive. This is why it surprises me so much that Vince is great in two completely different mediums. At some point, we creative types usually just have to pick a road and stick to it. To do otherwise is to risk spreading ourselves too thin. To paraphrase Ira Glass, the natural state of all art is mediocrity, and to make it more takes a tremendous act of will. Evidently, Vince has a lot of will. Listen to how his friends talk about him. This is Tim.
Have some vocal sample that he's like, I want it to go, tell me something good. And I'll be like, all right, I can do that. And I'll take it and cut it up and put it there. And I'll be like, what if we do this thing here and make it go, two? And we'll just like back and forth with weird stuff like that. The energy he brings to working on the beat really makes it into a thing that's him.
This is Steve.
It's hard to keep up with the guy, and I feel like I'm always a little bit behind.
This is Andres.
Vince is pretty off the wall. I mean, we've played at like gardens and things like that.
As both a painter and a rapper, Vince's personality and voice can't help but push through. There is no mistaking a Vincent Martinez painting, and an Emcee Eats track will always sound like an Emcee Eats track. He exudes the kind of self-assurance, talent, and joy of life that every artist in every medium strives for. Except he does it twice.
I feel like the performing aspect is what, it's like exercise or like yoga, but it's, I can like yell and I can just say all this stuff and I could be happy, angry, all these, whatever different emotions, and like get that out. That I feel like I've been through like a, you know, Native American sweat lodge after rapping, so.
It's astonishing too that his painting and his rapping integrate so naturally with one another. It's hard to distinguish between an Emcee Eats show and a Vincent Martinez art showing. In both cases, you're likely to hear some great music and go home with some great art.
I had them on like heavy-duty paper, so people were getting like poked in the head with corners of drawings, and then, so I like giving that feedback of like my art's on somebody's walls that didn't necessarily buy it, you know.
My favorite thing that he does, whether it's not something you've noticed yet or not, is just his weird expressions and dancing that come with anytime he gets really excited, especially when he's rapping. Is, you know, it's all like and then just like, you know, the hands, they get all around.
My band played a show at a house show, and then he was playing that as well, and he just jumped on the mic. And that's the thing, is he puts 110% into every performance, no matter if it's one person or 10 people, you know.
In everything he does, there's more passion than I know how to put into anything I do. So.
And for all my skepticism about so-called passionate people, I mean, who can sustain that much energy for their entire lives, I couldn't help but get excited at every Emcee Eats show I went to. At their best, there's an air of inclusiveness at his shows, a sense of participation.
somebody will come into the room and they won't be involved, and he'll be like, oh, no, you should definitely get involved. Oh, no, don't worry about it. And then suddenly that person is having a ton of fun, too. I don't think he ever is like, no, this is my thing. He's more like, oh, you do this, oh, no, come here. No, we're going to do this thing.
With Vince, it was, yeah, man, totally. Come, I'm doing this, it'll be cool if you're there. I'm doing this, it'll be cool if you're there.
We're more interested in having fun and keeping this, something that we love.
And he has that capability that you don't see very often in people to kind of walk into a room and just light people up.
Also, a tip to anyone looking for a gift for a loved one: find an awesome local artist and commission a painting from them. Yes, that is Fiona and Cake from that one gender swap episode of Adventure Time. No, it is not for sale. Dude, my girlfriend would kill me if I sold that thing.
Every time I wake up, I get a taquito and eat it. Sometimes I feel I just can't survive without my amigas. Chilaquiles, what up, Achilles? Always have beans and Andres, never be keyless. Baseline Chris, take my issue, give a fuck about a material. I make my issue dirty, keep my funk stinky. Jean-Michel, stretch a bar, seemingly janky. Stretch a bar, staple gun, spit a bar, nameless one, devour hope. Sour note, dope soap. Dr. Bronner got the dirt off a pair float. Amanda Jones put the crime back on them. Microphones so we can rhyme back on them. Hush, dude, percussion move flush through pipelines. Yeah, bite beats and bite rhymes. Who cares? Sample to sample like James Brown in Africa. Funky fool be acting up instrumental vernacular. Package up curricula to your lateral nuclei and all the way back to your amygdala. Collateral chicken fried Coxicatl and I paddle up, handle a battle against Julius Clapsaddle. It's hard to think when the funk don't stink. You just can't think cause that funk don't stink. It's hard to think when your funk don't stink. You just can't think that funk don't stink. It's hard to think when that funk don't stink. You just can't think cause your funk don't stink. Baby, it's hard to think when that funk don't stink. You just can't think when you're sitting there trying to mix some blue. Paint everybody's shit, I'll probably paint you. Take care of mine, keep colors tight, draw something fine. Pieces of malachite and I steal your hype from Asian cauldrons. Art by Comrade Coffin. Paint to the coffin and ramp as often as I can. Open up for low red center, flow funk dinner. Grow from the center into the Jaguar. Horned out in the serpent, sipping the Sambazine. Where the Spanish interpret the camera's on. Rap for philosophical purposes. Art purchases, wordlessnesses. Great for space brackets and poetry packets. Say ribcage for love. Lack what? No, like this. Cholo mid-grub, kid with a bald face says hold up. You got a little hood in you and I say show enough. Buffalo wing flap, you can't paint but you can sing rap. Dakota's my manager, I need that. Free fat for your gut, chicken bone, finger lick that. Steve Anderson, boom, clacking, boom, back with a charcoal. That's a Saturday bus house, veggie project. Because it's hard to think when that funk don't stink. You just can't think cause your funk don't stink. Baby, it's hard to think when that funk don't stink. You just can't think cause your funk don't stink. It's hard to think when your funk don't stink. You just can't think cause that funk don't stink. It's hard to think when that funk don't stink. You just can't think cause that funk don't stink.
Trying to find like this hard, heavy groove with everything. So sometimes it might need like some spontaneous element, but then definitely it needs like a structured order.
If the natural state of art is mediocrity, then I think the natural state of artists is selfishness. It takes a real concerted effort to be otherwise.
Let's talk about jazz life. What does that mean to you? Sharing resources for a greater good.
It's a nice thought, and I almost always dismiss it immediately. I have often found that being nice and inclusive is a straight path to making something watered down and the ultimate sin of any art forgettable. But when Vince says it, I know he's found a way to be inclusive and collaborative and yet still have his voice pierce through. It helps that he has an uncanny ability to surround himself with the right friends, with the kind of people who live and breathe this kind of life.
I have a hard time talking to people when they don't create things or like do things creatively. It's like, what do you do? Oh, well, I work at the convenience store down there. But what do you do? Well, I occasionally go out and party, but what do you do?
You know, you don't get to pick what you like. You know, that stuff's cosmic, so, you know, I can't say that I love one genre more than another.
I began to wonder what makes us so different. Where does all this generosity come from?
Eduardo Martinez and his international orchestra. He died when my dad was 15, so it was more like I saw all this, like all these photographs and his painting. He was a painter also. And so it was like my first, it just was the first like real artist to me that it wasn't like somebody from a book or something. It was like, so this was the guy that I did know, Fred Winkler. And it's him in his Lone Star get up. But I would consider him my grandpa. And so always real supportive, getting like a bunch of art supplies for me and stuff. So him and my grandma were always supportive of me drawing. So I wasn't like an outside going kid much. So when I stayed inside, they supported my monster demon drawing, helped me name my demons.
Vince tells me that the last song he performs for us is a culmination of all the emotional peaks and valleys he's recently gone through.
Yeah, I think it started off as a processing of a couple deaths recently, and then that just translated into grandparents' deaths. So
I asked him about those couple of deaths.
A client and like a best friend from teenage years. So yeah, a kid I was working with, and then a good friend of mine who died of drug overdose. The summertime, so it happened. They both happened at the same time, so it was pretty two hard hits at once. So yeah, that definitely. I think it's easier to deal with it like in a more tangible sense through like words. Yeah. And then like painting, I guess it could be done literally or like an abstract way, but I was thinking about it. I get a lot more out through the song writing sometimes. If it's like harder to say the thing like to somebody. In a conversation form, I guess it's for some reason easier to just to tell everybody.
One brother muggle, two sister buckle, three cousin kin. Wanna make some art with imaginary friends. If you don't get wild like the wind, since a child born a sin, been a while since I seen ya. Girl, glad you're here. Bone, soul, skin, poem. Pen apropos to insides liquefied, fried. Always been a lot since back, front, back, side to side. Had to go on and take flight. That's alright, cause we had some good, had some bad. R.I.P. Stephen Carter, Salvador Vitalis, and my dads. Eduardo Martinez, Fred Winkler, Chad. About the times we had, not the stuff that you have. Seen your kind before, something in the hands of every single lover. And my main man, soldier rag in the sand. Death all around my homie. More than a man, still less than a poet. Got you gone. Got your grandma on pop, working around the clock. Make sure that beat hot, sheets on the cot. Give you all my flesh after it rots under the surface of dirt. Pebbles and rocks, ancient symbols and ghosts come on the drop to get up on the one. Do as we ought, nothing borrowed or bought. Space form, crap, got the nail gun cock. Canvas and wood, do what I can. You did the best that you could, my good friend. truly understood. Next time I see him, I'ma have to tell him something good.
Tell me something. Tell me something. Tell me something. Tell me something.
Down or you ain't, what it is, what it ain't got no pain. Dude right here wants to paint, wants to rap, but you can't, you ain't coming with it. Let your mama do it, she's so cold, calm and fluid. Don't act like you ain't got no time to do it. Embalming fluid, collage, gotta draw to do it. Massage, all the druids, all the skin, all the bones. Make some noise if you're writing poems. Cinematic said, let's build a home with Annie Ted, but I won't. Gotta build one on my own, by myself, with my cortisone, rub some on and record a song. Gotta get that Jacob's ladder on. Eat a fucking grip, a cheat your own. Don't judge me, old man. If I got a home full of stinky Jones, just trying to get that hustle on. Got the stink, got the spice, got the raw, got the sea, got the salt. Free clothes off the mall. Me and me Mo with a ball roll. Got the seawall for the long haul, rapping till you fall off. But it never happened. Always rapping, dip, dap it, grease, and napkin.
There's a photo somewhere of my grandpa and I. I'm sitting on his shoulders and smiling. My parents tell me that when we visited Korea when I was a toddler, it was like that every time I saw him. That I'd either run to him or he'd run to me and then he'd scoop me up. I have no memory of any of this. By the time I visited Korea again in 5th grade, he was dead, and all I remember is pouring soju onto his grave. I don't miss him, not exactly, because I never really knew him. Yet there's a void that I notice when I talk to guys like Vince and hear the reverence in his voice when he talks about Eduardo Martinez or Fred Winkler. Maybe what the void is the life I could have had if I had had the constant, unwavering affirmation that only grandparents can provide. Vince and I live so differently. He without fear, me with boatloads of it. Where I see chaos, he sees jazz. He recorded all the songs you've just heard in literally one take. Ask me how many takes I did of this voiceover. But sometimes I like to imagine that before I got too old, my grandpa would decide to move to America. He would live with us, and he'd go fishing with me by that pond near our house, the one where I once tripped a kid because he was making fun of my sister. And he'd go to all my concerts and all my baseball games. I was the absolute worst baseball player, by the way. Thinking back, I think I closed my eyes every time I swung the bat. That would explain a lot. So when, during this one particular game in the middle of the season, I stepped up to the plate in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, our team behind by 1 run with a man on second, well, the enthusiasm wasn't exactly electrifying. I racked up 2 strikes and 2 pitches. On the 3rd pitch, I swung the same as I always did, but this time, I felt that perfect contact between bat and ball. Easy but powerful, solid but fluid. And that part of my brain that could never grasp physics was suddenly lit up and hungry for more because, of course, equal and opposite reaction and mass and acceleration, and there's Isaac Newton giving me a high five. The ball soared over the second baseman's head. I rounded first and saw my teammate heading towards home. He scored and was mobbed by our teammates. I can genuinely say that up until that point, that was the best moment of my life. And I imagine then what it would have been like if instead of my dad trying his best to sound impressed when I would recount the story to him later, my grandpa was in the stands to witness the whole thing. I imagine what it would have been like to hear him shouting louder than anyone else in the stands when I hit my game-tying double. And there I'd be, standing on second, catching my breath. I'd see my grandpa there clapping with his hands over his head, holding back tears, though he would only tell me about that later. And I know right then that I was going to be okay, and that I was going to see farther than even he would ever see, because I was lucky. I was standing on the shoulders of a giant.